Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Bailey and I'm a senior attorney at McEntee Law Group. And like thousands of you out there, I've been avidly following the journey of Boy Throb and Darshan and their immigration woes. Boy Throb announced that they're throwing Throbcella, which is a concert that they're trying to demonstrate that they're a real band, not a meme, who can attract a huge audience of real fans. And as one of the Throb mob, I love to show up at the concert and help demonstrate to the government that fans really do exist. There seems to have been a recent update about Darshan's case. We know from March, from previous videos, that he received a request for evidence, or what we call an RFE, from USCIS. And generally with those, you get 87 days to respond if the RFE is sent by mail. Even though it hasn't been 87 days, it's not clear, but it seems like maybe Darshan's O1 visa might have actually been denied. So what's next for our velour-clad virtuoso? We'll have to see. But just in general, I wanted to bring this up since it's timely. RFEs and denials can be scary and confusing, and they're happening more frequently. And so now's a good time to provide some general information about handling RFEs and, in some cases, refiling after a denial. So what even is an RFE? Remember, an RFE is not a denial. As Darshan has showed us, USCIS will issue an RFE when they determine that they need more information before deciding whether or not to approve or deny a case. So as Darshan said in his statement informing us about the RFE back in March, is that these are pretty common. So this is not a time to panic if you get one, but an RFE does require action from the petitioner. And like I said, it's a pretty short window of 87 days. And really, when you think about it, that's not very long when you're gathering evidence and you don't want to miss that hard deadline. Okay, that's key. Don't miss the deadline. In many cases, RFEs raise issues that can actually be addressed by providing further explanations or clarifications, maybe legal arguments, and of course, additional evidence to the extent that it's available. For this reason, most individuals or petitioners will respond to the RFE to resolve USCIS's concerns and, fingers crossed, get that petition approved. Unfortunately, in some cases, RFEs are completely baseless and show that officer has not properly reviewed the filing. And I know these are particularly frustrating to receive and respond to. In some cases, though, if a USCIS officer has actually made a strong argument that key eligibility requirements haven't been met, petitioners may choose to refile the petition, and this could be refiling with a more robust petition for the same visa type, or even submitting a petition for a different visa type that might be a better fit. And that's, a strategy call. So I will talk about refiling petitions later, but let's start with the RFEs because I think generally that's where we are in the journey with Boy Throb. And to that end, this is a good place for me to remind you that this is not legal advice and it's meant for educational purposes only. You should speak to an experienced immigration attorney about your own case if you do receive an RFE or, God forbid, a denial. Where to start? We got an RFE, where to start? So while we didn't have eyes on our favorite boy band's RFE from context clues, we have a pretty good idea what they need. What they say they need is more evidence that they're a real band, not a meme, they said. The first step for an RFE, if I get one, is to review it with a fine-tooth comb. And so that is word by word. Find out what USCIS thinks is missing or unclear. So is there a missing document? Is there a lack of context? Is there a misapplication of the law? But also sometimes, generally not if you have an attorney, is there a real eligibility issue? Are you really not eligible for this visa type? So once you figure that out, you can start building your response and collecting any necessary documentation and preparing the response itself. And so what a response should look like, the goal is to make your submission clear, persuasive, and organized, and you wanted to make it as easy as possible for a USCIS officer to review it and hopefully approve the petition. Now, these officers are under a tremendous time pressure, especially with premium processing cases. So in practice, that means that a response should be not only addressing every single issue, any inconsistencies or missing information of areas of doubt I'd want to explain and supplement with independent evidence and better supporting evidence if available. And when I think of O1 cases similar to Boy, Throb, and Darshan, the kind of evidence could be samples of like stronger press coverage or streaming data that existed before the time of filing, or maybe you forgot to include a concert that you didn't think was enough to prove a point. So this is a really important thing I wanted to bring up. Evidence related to an event, publication, press, concert that happens after the filing is generally dismissed or not given much weight in adjudications. It does not establish eligibility at the time of filing, which is what you need to prove, that you're eligible when you file. So I will talk about refiling petitions later.